And we are back with part 2 of the Lifestyle Reconn R4T SE rundown. If you haven't checked out part 1, check it out up here. In that one there, I introduced the camper. I spoke a bit about the models and the specifications in the Reconn range. I also went over all of the exterior features, from the hitch to the spare wheel, suspension and brakes, and of course, all of the exterior mounted storage options. In this part 2, we are going to be moving on inside. I'm going to show you the interior layout and design, how we managed to fit 2 adults and 2 kids while still creating a livable and usable working space. I'll show you the design of the bathroom and other facilities like the fridge and freezer. And of course, we will move on to that famous kitchen, which to be honest is probably the main selling point for this camper. Just as in part 1, I'll place a caption on screen for the optional extras that we decided to include in this build. It makes sense to start with the front door, and here we have a fairly standard Kamek caravan door. The standard features including that of splitting it in 2 and being able to close just the fly screen portion. Now it is a tri-lock system, and of course we can close this piece here to have it fully weatherproofed and sealed. We do have a perspex window in the top half, and this can be covered with a blackout blind and press studs from the interior. Now before we even step foot inside the van, we have this first step here, and we have the Reconn R4 text embroidered into this soft touch leather backing. On each side we have a low power and dimmed clearance light, which we'll get onto the switch in just a moment. Across that top edge we have a painted black aluminium corner bracketing protecting all of the exterior furnishings. Another feature we noticed before we even step into the van is of course the big 175 litre Thetford fridge. Now this is a 12 volt compressor fridge only. We have about 130 litres of storage space in the fridge compartment and about 43 litres in the freezer compartment. There's various settings. We can set them at between 1 and 5 on the fridge setting and 1 and 3 on the freezer, which does get it all the way down to minus 18 degrees. The reason it's placed in this particular location is of course for easy access to those who are outside, as all of our food prep and cooking is done in our exterior kitchen. Mounted directly to the left of the fridge is one of our switch panels for our lighting. This controls both the interior and exterior lights. It is really easy to access whether or not you're inside or outside of the van. On the top left hand corner we have the main switch for our 6 LED lights on the roof of the interior of the van. The switch on the top right controls the step lights, which not only controls the LED strips above some of the drawers, but also those clearance lights in that bottom step in the entry. The bottom left switch controls the exterior passenger side lights, and the bottom right, the driver's side exterior lights. There are 6 LED roof lights in this van, and each of them is individually dimmable and can be color changed to blue via individual switches. Now the great thing is they all hold memory as well, so if you turn the whole lot off and back on again, it will retain that color change or the brightness setting that you've set previously. As mentioned earlier, there is an LED strip above the center stairwell drawers, not only giving you a nice clear path to get up the stairs in low light, but also lighting up the contents of these drawers very well. Directly below that switch panel is of course our controls for our 240 volt rooftop air conditioning and heating unit. Now this just comes loose with the van when you purchase it brand new, but I've just chosen to mount the bracket here using double-sided tape, and it's held on really well over the last 5 months. The rooftop system is an optional extra offered by Lifestyle. It does a really good job at cooling the van down and can be used as a heater as well. Now it is wired to the 240 volt supply, but you can option it to be wired to the larger inverter if you've selected the larger electrical package. But enough with the entry, let's go on up inside. So stepping up into the van, and we can see above this big fridge here we have this really large workspace. Now we do have a vent in the back, and that's to help vent some of the heat out from the compressor of this fridge. But this area here is extremely handy for storing a lot of gear while at camp, and for us we use it to store all of our schooling gear, a big washing bucket, and we also hang a small bin off one of these wiring conduits. Now keep in mind that this area does have to be cleared and packed away while the van is in use, because obviously the pop top here will come down to the level of this black bar. But while you're at camp, a very handy area to store all of your gear. Stepping aside here, and in the front corner of the van we have a combined toilet and shower unit. Now the first great feature about this bathroom is that the access door to get in is a full-sized mirror. It has a magnetic strip for opening and closing while in use, but also a small swivel lock for travel. Entering into this bathroom area, and it's well appointed with this black hardware. The shower head has 3 flow options, and there's even a towel rail on the left hand side. Another great feature about this bathroom is this full-length wraparound shower curtain. So not only does it prevent water from exiting the area while having a shower, but it also covers things like the toilet paper roll and that towel rail, which means you can leave your towels and furnishings in place while having a shower. We've also added some Fusion Lock accessories. Now these are all aftermarket accessories and they include a couple of hooks for things like sponges and a cleaning brush and the kids' towels in the back corner. The toilet in here is a fairly standard Thetford unit and is plumbed to the main tanks for the flush. On the base of this bathroom is another great feature and it's referred to as the waterfall edge shower floor. There's no center drain here, or at least to the visible eye anyway. Water that flows from the shower is pushed to the edges and is drained through a center hole underneath this false floor. This means that this area dries really quickly, has lots of grip and looks really nice between uses. From the leading edge of that bathroom, we have our bunk beds. Now, both of these bunk beds are optional extras when building your Recon. The lower bunk is a converted dinette table setup, and the top one here is an optional extra added onto the side bracing of the van. The top bunk can be easily stowed away just by simply removing any of the bulky items such as pillows and lifting the unit up. There is a gas strap on the right hand side which not only helps with the lifting and lowering process but holds that bunk in an upright position if you choose to continue to use that dinette table. Concealed underneath that top bunk mattress is a carpeted piece of aluminium which can be folded up on these hinges here to act as a bed rail for the person sleeping in that top bunk. The lower bunk bed consists of these two dinette chairs with an additional cushion in the center to level it out into a mattress type shape. Now we've opted to purchase an additional 50mm foam mattress, and this means that we can make up the bedding around this mattress, and it makes it very easy to disassemble and return this into a dinette table in just a matter of a few seconds. Once the mattress and that cushion are removed, we can press the release button for the dinette table, which springs back up and turns it back into a functional dinette area. Now, of course, this is fairly standard hardware as well. The great thing about this particular dinette table, not only can you push it up and down to create that lower bunk, but you've also got a handle underneath here, so we can lift that up and we can push this table back or forward or even out and swivel around. So it really has provided a lot of options in our setup. This is the area that primarily the kids will do their schooling. In this lower bunk area, we also have the only fixed external window on this camper. We have 4 locking clips that will hold this closed when in transit, and we have 4 levels of adjustment for that perspex window to be opened. On the inside, we can lift it up for a fly screen and pull it down for a blackout blind. Now in this area as well, just to store a bit more gear, we also have used these Fusion Lock hooks. So these hold little bags or little items that we can put both while in travel and when set up like we are. Just behind my back here, we also have another one of those Fusion Lock caddies, which holds some of the kids' gear. Coming down to underneath the dinette table, just to make sure we haven't wasted any space, we do use this area for a bit of storage when the bunk beds are made. We have some of the kids' toys in here, some further equipment, and even a handheld vacuum cleaner. Now on the leading edge of this front dinette chair, we also have the controls for our hot water system. Now we're using the Truma Ultra Rapid system, which is a gas-powered hot water system holding 14 litres and is incredibly efficient at what it does. It may seem like a bit of a strange place to put a switch, but having it here means that we can reach in and access it without having to enter the van to turn on our hot water system. In addition to the presence of the hot water controls on the leading edge of this front dinette table, we also have the hot water system itself underneath the seat. Now it is protected by a cap or a shelf on top of it, however it does offer about 1 centimeter deep tray for a little bit of storage. So this is where we keep a lot of our maps that we no longer need, and a lot of the instruction manuals for the camper. Underneath the rear dinette seat is a little bit of a different story. Under here we have some of the very basic electrical equipment. We also have the 12-volt air compressor that controls or supplies the ATX suspension, and just some of our gear that we've stored in here that we just don't need very often. And this includes things like backpacks, bags, extra warm clothes, and spare water filters. Turning the camera around, and this is where we have the bench space on the interior of this camper. On the right hand side here we have this large black sink, and we have access to both our general water tanks but also our drinking water tanks as well. On the back we have this nice black smoked splashback, and we've fixed some of our items to it. Again, we use another Fusion Lock caddy to store some of our gear down the left hand side. Now just behind that caddy we also have some of our 12-volt electrical ports, and this consists of 2 USB styled ports and a single cigarette lighter. To the left of this, we also have two 240 volt GPOs. Now, again, if you've opted for that larger electrical system, you can have these wired up to the inverter, which means they can be used whether you're plugged into shore power or not. Now, directly underneath this sink here is probably the only void space that Lifestyle haven't used for storage. Now, obviously we can't use this section here because of the sink right behind it, but this section to the left here does have a little bit of room, and from what I've seen, there are a couple of models, I believe, that now opt for a very small narrow drawer, which does fit in this section here. But moving down from this, we have three very large drawers, with the bottom one just having a slight cutaway. These drawers are very large, and I'll put the dimensions up on the screen now, but not only that, they open out the full 100% of their drawer runner, so you can access everything all the way to the back of that drawer. Now, in addition to the three drawers underneath the sink, we have one to the left underneath the bench space. Now, we generally use this as a bit of a toiletry drawer. In addition to all of this storage space, we also have a further three drawers in the step assembly. The top drawer is a little bit smaller, and the bottom two drawers are used for all the kids' clothing. Now, down the rear of the camper, past those bunk beds and our bench space, we have the main bed. This is a full-size queen inner sprung pillow top mattress, and I can tell you now, it's extremely comfortable. We've added our own pillow top mattress protector on there as well, and when we move those pillows into the center, there is no problems with the roof closing down at this height. Now, down each side of the mattress, we also have these recessed storage areas. They're perfect for just fitting those bits and pieces that won't fit anywhere else, or you want perhaps next to you while you're sleeping. Now, the top corners of each side of this mattress, you also get another 12 volt supply. So again, you get a dual USB point and a single cigarette lighter, so perfect for charging your devices while you sleep. We've found these little plastic caddies here, perfect for storing some of our gear, and they're able to slide up and down this area as required. On the roof in the center of the van, just above the foot of the main bed, we have these two Sirocco fans. Now, one of them is standard, but the second one is an optional extra. Now, for us, it was a no-brainer. Having 4 people in such a small area, we wanted to make sure we have good circulation. So generally on hot nights, the kids go to bed quite early. We can have one down the lower bunk, one on the upper bunk. And then when we come to bed, we can either leave one in this area or face them both towards the main bed. Now, in my opinion, one of the biggest advantages to a pop-top camper, or even a caravan for that matter, are these huge zipped windows that we get in this PVC material. In this camper, we get 6 of them all the way around the camper, which means we almost get a full panoramic view when we have them all open. And with the queen bed up so high, you can almost see directly out of these windows from your pillow, which is absolutely awesome on some really cool sunrises when camped in some remote locations. Another advantage of this queen bed being up so high, if you do leave all of these windows all the way open for ventilation, you're not able to see people inside the camper when standing outside, so it's great for privacy as well. So I think we've covered all of the features inside this camper, so let's head on out and have a look at that famous Lifestyle kitchen. I have no doubt that this kitchen here is one of the main selling points for this brand and model of camper, because it certainly was for us. I mean, have a look at it.
The storm is coming, but I'm prepared. I'll be gone for a while, but don't be scared.
By far, one of the biggest advantages to this style of kitchen is just how easy it is to both access and use. We've got this large canopy door that opens up just like it would on any canopy on the back of a vehicle. We've got 2 massive gas struts here to not only help lift it up and drop it down, but to hold it up when it's in position. We have these 2 T-lock compression locks on the far end, and this makes sure that this entire area is dust sealed while traveling. This T-lock cover here not only looks really great with the Reconn laser cut into it, but also houses a nice big LED strip as well. Now, one of the greatest advantages to having a kitchen of this design is the fact that everything is fixed. There are no drawer runners or anything that has to be pulled out or connected to use this kitchen. It is simply a matter of rocking up to camp, opening this canopy door, and you're ready to go. One of the optional extras that we implemented in this build was this dual burner Safari Induction cooktop. Now, Induction has a whole host of advantages, and I've done an entire episode talking about some of the pros and cons for using this type of system. But for us, it was very important. Not only is it incredibly efficient, but it also uses a renewable resource. We have plenty of battery power, a large inverter, and a ton of solar on this van, so we can use this to cook all of our meals and be fully replenished by the end of the day. But one of the biggest advantages and considerations for us when choosing induction on this van was the fact that we have an exterior kitchen. Induction cooking is not affected by wind. There is no transmission of the heat from the panel to the pot, and therefore we can be cooking in some strong winds and not be affected. In addition to that, the simple design of this kitchen as well means that we are somewhat protected from the elements. Not only do we have this canopy door from either rain or sunshine, but we also have an enclosed area in here which is protected on 3 sides from, again, rain and wind. To the left of the induction cooktop, we have this huge bench space here, which is really great for meal preparation. But another advantage for this induction as well is that when it's not in use, it's also very easy to be used as a prep bench too. There's no lifting or lowering mechanisms and no gas safety switches. To the right of the induction cooktop, we have a very large but fairly narrow sink. Again, we have all of that black hardware, but the fact that the sink is quite narrow means that you don't have to use a lot of water to get that depth of water to wash your dishes. So if you're off grid a lot, it does come in very handy for water saving. Now, right down the far end on the right hand side, we have 2 hooks that are supplied from Lifestyle, and we just use them to carry some of our towels. We also have the main light switch for this area, and this controls both the water pumps. Now, we did option for an additional plumbing system, and this will be in part 3 of this rundown, but we have the main water and drinking water pumps. Above that, we have our switch for the rear external light. Now, we have 2 of these remotes as well, and you can see here they have a slide along the bottom of them. So this controls each of the LED strips in the kitchen. We have 1 LED strip running along the back of the kitchen, and that one that I mentioned in this T-lock cover. So not only can we choose the brightness of each of these LED strips individually, but we can also choose the color temperature. This ranges from a very cool white all the way to a very deep orange, which definitely makes a difference when trying to keep the bugs away. These remotes are magnetic and they have never fallen off during our travels. Now, on this right hand side, we also have a Joseph & Joseph cutting board set. Links will be in the description below, but this is something that we've added aftermarket and is simply double-sided taped onto the side of the camper. Moving down the left hand side, we also have a paper towel rail. This is supplied by Lifestyle, and we just use a lackey band to make sure all these paper towels don't unravel themselves in the weather. Again, we're using a Joseph & Joseph knife block, and this just houses 4 general kitchen knives, again double-sided taped to this backing plate. Just above that, we have the Marine control panel, and this tells us a whole lot of data about the van's current condition, including the time, the barometric pressure, the percentage of our battery power, how much current is coming in or out of the van, our solar inputs and where our power is being used, our water tank levels, our electrical temperatures, and of course that barometer. Well, one of the big updates that Lifestyle made to their vans in 2022 was replacing a hinged style door to access the pantry cupboards and replacing them with these nice roller shutters. These roller shutters here give access to all of our pantry and cooking supplies. In addition to housing all of our food supplies, it also houses this small cutlery drawer mounted underneath the top shelf, really maximizing the full height of this storage compartment. Now, again, moving all the way down to the left, we have a 3rd roller shutter door here, and this is what we house all of our appliances, things like our toaster, our kettle, and all of our large utensils that simply don't fit in that small cutlery drawer. There's also a top shelf in here as well, which again houses some of those miscellaneous items. There's a small shelf along the side, which is perfect for holding some of those small items, and also a place to place your phone next to the 12-volt power supply, again having a dual USB and a single cigarette plug. Just above those 12-volt outlets, we also have our 2 240-volt outlets, and again, because we have that upgraded electrical system, these work whether or not we're plugged into shore power or not. Now, the great thing about this kitchen layout is that this is not the only storage we have. We also have these 3 hatches up above as well. Now, just like on the storage side that we covered in part 1, it is quite a narrow hole to fit gear through, but it is quite large in both its height and its depth into the van. Now we did cover it in part one, but just underneath the induction cooktop to the left of the sink here, we have this lower storage hatch here. And this houses all of our pots and pans, strainers and collapsible equipment. So it's a great area to keep some of that heavy, bulky items out of the way and down nice and low. Now I know I'm probably being a little biased here, but this has got to be one of the best camp kitchens on the market. I haven't seen anything else like this. Its ease of access, the ability to have this huge amount of bench space here, and the workflow and accessibility to all of the supplies that you need and all of the equipment is just second to none. Now, if we're stopping for between 5 and 7 days or shopping up, we can fit most of our pantry items in the storage here. But any longer than that, or if we're going really remote, we do have a storage box on the other side of the van that does hold some additional pantry items. Now, unlike a kitchen you would have inside of a caravan, the height of this bench is going to be determined on the surface that you've parked on. But as mentioned in part one of this rundown, we have the Cruisemaster ATX airbag suspension, which means that we can lift the entire van up or down to ensure that not only is this bench at the right height, but if we're camped on a slope, that I'm not hitting my head up on this canopy door. Well, there we have it. That is part two complete. And I think by now that maybe you're starting to understand why Tegan and I chose this particular camper for our full-time travel around Australia. It may be small, it may be compact, but it is sure capable. And the design, the fit and finish of the Lifestyle is just second to none. With a kitchen like that being so accessible and easy to use on the road, it really isn't a chore, and it's made life not only enjoyable, but very convenient out on the road. So I hope you've all enjoyed today's episode and the part two of the Lifestyle Reconn rundown. In part three, we're going to be looking at the full electrical system and water setup and focus on some of the qualities of this camper that make it ideal for hitting those off-grid locations. But until then, we'll see you next time on Exploring Oz.